Oh, yeah. What's up, Raider Nation? It's your boy, Mikey Raider, coming to you on March 5th for my first official Raider football talk show impromptu of the off season. I'm going to hopefully do these more 2 or 3 times a week as a lot of Raider news continues to happen. So bear with me with technology and issues and computers, and let's hope it all works out. So, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate everybody spending your time with me, supporting me, and being there for me. So, the first thing I wanted to say is we got a big show for you guys today. A lot of Raider information came out today, and there's a lot of rumors and stuff going on. And I needed to get online for about an hour and a half while I wait for my food delivery. Thank you, Jesus. I was able to purchase some food today. But we're going to talk Raiders. And if you want to be a guest during this next hour, if you are a member on this channel, I posted a link to join the live stream. So if you're a member, go to the chat room, find the link to join today's live stream if you're available for about an hour or so. And if I do log off really quickly, it's because I got to handle some shit with the food deliveries and stuff like that. But hey, we're going to try to get to it and have a good little bit of time. Please hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe button. Consider becoming a member of this channel for early and exclusive and future live streams where you can join. I do have donation portals down below, whether it be through PayPal, Venmo, or CashApp, as I am honestly struggling and I'm worried about paying my rent. I have Raider jerseys for sale that I've worn and that I haven't worn. And you can watch my previous videos to get information on that. If you would like to buy a Raider jersey to help support me to pay my rent, because I'm struggling these next couple months due to a lot of reasons. But hey, it's neither here nor there. I love you all. Thank you guys for the support. And let me just quickly say hello to the members that are online, or not the members, but the chat room that's going strong, hopefully. We got Alan G saying, Mikey, don't spell it with a C. Alan, don't spell it with a C. It's Mikey, M-I-K-E-Y. It says it on the screen. That's like Mickey Mouse. I'm Mikey Raider. What's up, Dominique? We got me, said it's popping. Me is talking about the Max Crosby situation that we're going to talk about in a little bit. And we already got Frost WSA, my moderator for today, talking about Max Crosby. We'll get into that in just a couple of minutes. That being said, I have in my chat room, I have a super chat goal. If you guys would like to meet the super chat goal, I will throw a raffle at the end of the month for one of the Raider jerseys that I have for sale for like $60. So anybody that super chats in any of these shows will be entered into the raffle at the end of the month for one of the jerseys. And you guys can contact me through email and whatever if you win when I announce it on another Raider football talk show. Hopefully I'm going to have a Raider football talk show 2 times a week. I don't know what days. So hit that bell for notifications for when I'm feeling good and healthy and I go live and you guys want to join me. Ruben Nava's online saying, shout out to Mikey Raider and the nation. It's so damn hard to be a Raider fan nowadays. All right, let's get the banners on screen. Let's get the show started. How do I get that thing going on the bottom of the screen? Oh, get okay. I think that's it. Is that it? Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? All right. Let's first talk about free agency news and rumors that are coming up as free agency approaches on this coming Monday. I think technically we are starting today or maybe tomorrow. We're in what's called the legal tampering period. But I think the legal tampering period is probably going to be on Monday. because the start of the actual season and free agency doesn't happen till March 12th. But I believe Monday is considered the legal tampering period. So a lot of news and information will be starting to come out Monday officially. We do have a Raider signing to talk about, but that's because the player was released. And they can sign with anybody once they're released. You know, they're not an unrestricted free agent or how that works. So the legal tampering period will start on Monday. Hopefully, I will be going live stream that day to hopefully get the Raiders started off with some big tampering or signings or predictions or whatever. Hopefully, I could be live on Monday or Tuesday at the latest to update you all. And what's going on in free agency? Well, Devontae Adams has been released. Aaron Rodgers has been released. Or will not be retained by the Jets. There's a lot of rumors about Raiders and Aaron Rodgers signing. And we're going to actually get into that in a few more minutes. So bear with me. But before we continue with free agency news and rumors, let's get into the big news of the day. Let's get into the Max Crosby signing an extension. And I just quickly wanted to be honest that Max Crosby has been making some noise this offseason during the playoffs, branding himself, talking in the media, and it was pissing a lot of people off. And myself included. I made a few videos talking about it. And he still has 2 years left on his initial deal from 2020 or 21, his 6-year deal. So he was under contract by the Raiders. But what had happened was all of his guaranteed money was done. All of his guaranteed money was done. And that's what players do nowadays is they want to get more of that guaranteed money. So once their guaranteed money is done, they want to go to another place or they create a contract stink and they want to get paid again or get an extension. So they start talking in the media, they start creating controversy, and they start threatening to be a holdout. But Max Crosby was under contract for something like $20 million for the next year, at least, until he would possibly be a free agent in the 2026 season. 2 years from now, or a year and a half from now, however that works. But what the Raiders did is they went out and they gave him an extension with the new coach, Pete Carroll, and Jeff Spytek, the general manager. They didn't want Max Crosby to become a problem because he was already proving that he was going to become a problem if you followed his media announcements and other stuff like that of the past few months. Again, I want him to shut his damn mouth and play under the original contract, at least for another year or so. But players want to get their money, and that's what he did. So, Max Crosby, I don't have the actual numbers in front of me. I'm going to have to read it off of my screen because my computer doesn't want to put pictures up today for some damn reason. But let me announce the Max Crosby contract, and then we'll talk about whether it's worth it, was it too much, and what this proves about the Raiders organization moving forward. All right, let me get it on screen. All right, Raiders are signing defensive end Max Crosby to a 3-year, $106.5 million extension that includes 91.5 guaranteed. Now, this is the information that kind of rubs me the wrong way. He is now the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history at the moment. Let's say that again. The highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. That means he is the highest paid player that's not a quarterback in the entire history of the NFL to date. That's even over wide receivers that get like 30, 33, $34 million a year. Quarterbacks are, they're all getting 40, $50 million a year. But what does this average out to Max Crosby per season? I believe it's $35.5 million a year. 106.5 for 3 years, 91.5 guaranteed. So that's somewhere around $35.5 million, maybe a little bit less, but $35 million a year. For a defensive edge rusher that has, in 6 seasons with the Raiders, averaged about 10 sacks a season. He has about 59 and a half sacks, according to the stats that I saw in his 6 seasons with the Raiders. So we are paying $35 million. It's $3.5 million per sack. Just saying. It's a lot to think about when you think about it. $3.5 million per sack if he continues the 10 average that he has in his first 6 years. Now, Max Crosby's coming off injuries the previous 2 seasons. And are they as bad as they could be? I don't know. But he's seemingly getting injured every season. Do I have some concerns? I do. We also got a player next to him named Christian Wilkins that's going to be also coming off a major injury as well to solidify our D-line. So, when you think about it, that's a lot of money. Myles Garrett of the world and some of these other players are going to get more than that. But Max Crosby and the Raiders signing this extension for $35.5 million or somewhere around that number, maybe 35.2, started it off in free agency. So now all other contracts for the bigger players are going to revolve around the Max Crosby contract. And he will only be the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history for the next 4 or 5 days. So live it up, Max Crosby, and congratulations. Now, hopefully, you'll shut the fuck up, because I don't think we should have signed you again for this amount of money. But I am not the general manager. I am not the coach. And I did want Max Crosby back, but I wanted him to bet on himself. I wanted him not to make a ruckus in the media, which he did the previous few months. And I wanted him to play post-injury for this final year of his contract. That is maximizing value from my perspective if you are a Raider general manager. We already had him under contract for another 2 years, basically, or a year and a half on the other contract. And I would want him to honor it and play coming off an injury and him bet on himself. Then if we wanted him the other seasons, we could franchise tag him and do other things like that. Well, I don't think we could franchise tag him because he wasn't a first-round pick. So forgive my statement just there. I was incorrect. But that's what I would have done. But again, Max would have held out, and he would have created more drama and more problems moving forward. And that's what the Raiders brash and new general manager and new coach did not want. They did not want Max to hold out, even though the value is there to let him play on his last year of his contract. The value for the Raiders is there for them to do that. But Pete Carroll and Jeff Spytek do not want to start their career with Raider Nation doing an event possibly like the Khalil Mack event that happened with John Gruden many years back, where we trade or we have an issue or a contract dispute or a fallout or a holdout with our best Raider defensive player, the franchise Raider star player, if you will. Again, I don't agree with the philosophy. I think there are certain times Raiders organizations or NFL teams need to hold players to their initial contract. And truth be told, he was getting like $22 million, I think, on the initial contract. It might have been 20. I should have looked that up. My apologies. And no player is going to sit out the entire season. And if he forced a trade, then we get some value for him, and we don't know how he's going to respond coming off of injury. But again, I am not the general manager. That's the way I would have worked it. I would have been a hard ass. I would have toed the line. But hey, that's not where we're at. So the reality is, I don't need to talk about it anymore. Queen Mother's online. Rebel Raiders online, Unholy Frankie, Unholy Raider Frankie's online, and Rogue Code is online. So now Max Crosby is getting $35 million a year, and we can talk about whether it's worth it or not in just one more minute, and I want your answers on the screen. So when I do that part of it, I want to know your answers. But what does this mean for the Raiders organization? They're all in. They are all in, the Raiders organization. Why? Because they got Pete Carroll for 2 or 3 years at most, Jeff Spytek for 2 or 3 years, and they're starting their career with the Raiders. And they want to start it off right. So they're ingratiating a player, and they're making noise to the entire NFL that the new Raiders are going to honor the contracts of their best players, regardless of injury. And we're going to pay maximum value because we want to keep our homegrown Raider drafted players and our star players in-house. That is an awesome, awesome start to Jeff Spytek and Mark Davis, if you will, and Pete Carroll, if you will. They love Max Crosby. They're tired of pissing off Raider Nation in trading their best players, and they're making a statement. Will it work out? Will it be a bad contract coming off of injury? I don't know. But technically, if you want to think about it, the Raiders are paying Max Crosby for what he did the first 6 years and being one of the leaders of this team, possibly the only true leader of this team in the locker room. And they bought themselves a leader for the next 3 years. And maybe Max Crosby will be a Raider for life. How well will he play in the next couple seasons? I do not know. I do not know. But I like what they did. I appreciate the public statement. And the Raiders are going all in. And it shows they are willing to spend money to win now. And this Max Crosby signing means a lot for the quarterback position that we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes. Doom is on here. Hey, Doom, you're on a football channel. Thanks for chiming in. All right. So I asked the question, and we're going to look at your comments. Is the 3-year extension for 105.5? What was it? Was it 105? My God, I forgot the numbers. Sorry, everybody. There's so many numbers in my head. Numbers in my head. I got numbers on my head, so don't call me a numberhead. So the max contract, or the contract for 3 years, $106.5 million, $91 million guaranteed, is now an average of 35.5 or something a year. And he averages 10 sacks a season. Is that worth it? Well, let's quickly look at the Raiders' cap space, because this will take something off of the Raiders' cap space. We haven't talked about, I'll talk about DK Metcalf in a little bit with free agency rumors. Thank you, Lolo, but I'll share that on screen. Let me get to this picture. Hopefully it'll come up. Let's look at the Raiders' cap space. So there's the Raiders' cap space as of now. So, if my math is correct, take off $35.2 or $3 million off of that. That leaves us with $60 million in cap space. Again, I don't know the true contact details. I'm just going off what was stated. So if he's going to average $35.2 million a year, depending on how it's structured, take off $35.2 million, and you got about $65 million in cap space moving forward. Then the rookie draft class is around 15 to 18 million for the cap pool. So take off another 20 from the 60 million, and you got 40 million in cap space. So with the addition of Max Crosby and the rookie salary cap, we're possibly around $42 million in cap space. Again, I may not be correct, but I'm doing my best. So that's pretty interesting that we went from almost $100 million a couple of days ago to $40 million at the start of free agency on Monday or Tuesday. Pretty interesting. Let me respect the super chat, and you are in the raffle for the jersey at the end of the month. Lolo, hey, Mikey, did I miss the talk about DK Metcalf yet? No, I am going to bring him up after I talk about our wide receiver situation in a couple of minutes. If you have to go, come back, and it'll be in this video in a little bit. DK Metcalf asked for a trade with the Seattle Seahawks because they let go, or they released Tyler Lockett, and now DK Metcalf has asked for his release or a trade because there's rumors with Pete Carroll he'll reunite. I don't want it to happen. I don't see it happening, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, so is the Max Crosby worth it? Rebel Raiders chiming in. He says $35 million for 8 to 12 sacks a year is too much. I don't know. I don't know if it is. It's a leadership signing, and it's a Raider for life signing with a new general manager. I feel you, though. I think Max Crosby is not worth that amount coming off of 2 injury-filled seasons. But he is worth that because that's what they gave him. He still technically is a disruptor in the backfield, and he causes pressure for almost every play, and his motor is always going. That's probably why he gets injured so much. So moving forward, Max Crosby cannot, in my opinion, cannot keep up his motor that bad or that good or that long, because he is often getting injured now. He's becoming more fragile little by little. So he's got to change something up to sustain a longer career and to hopefully get another contract. So that might mean diminished production for Max Crosby moving forward. I thought he might have been worth $25 million, 27 at most, 30 at best. But it is what it is. Rebel Raider says he fleeced us. Yeah. He got what he wanted. His agent, his media tour, they did wonders for him. They did wonders for him. Dominique said exactly now. Hopefully he shuts his damn mouth. Well, he didn't. Because think about it. Yesterday he made news talking about Aaron Rodgers, how he wishes Aaron Rodgers, or he's going to have a good year if he comes to the Las Vegas. Max Crosby yesterday knew he was going to sign the extension. So that means Max Crosby had prior knowledge to his podcast that he was getting an extension, and he still decided to put his name in the media and speak about Aaron Rodgers and voice his opinion. Well, some Raider Nation are soured on that because Max Crosby voiced his opinions about Antonio Pierce, and they listened to him, and that didn't work out so well. But I don't know. The Raiders are possibly giving Max Crosby too much money, too much leeway, and too much into the team, as he is currently trying to brand himself, in my opinion, bigger than the Raiders themselves in terms of the media. And he started the talking tour months ago. In this case, it's not just a player, but paying for continuity and solid leadership. I think it's worth it. Yes. That is why they did it, Rogue Code. It's a distraction contract. Interesting theory. Interesting theory. Elaborate on that, please, Raider 75. Max Crosby is the Raiders' best player. His star power sells tickets. It does. It does. It does. I will agree with that statement. He needs to hit the weight room and get stronger to protect his body. Where it says donating, it's spelled conating. I'm so sorry, man. My words, my verbiage, my texting is not perfect, man. Max, 13 plus sacks. Yeah, he didn't have a chance to play with Christian Wilkins that much because they both got injured. I'm really hoping that'll be one of the best defensive lines in the league. And what I meant to say was about how this proves the Raiders are all in, because we need a lot on offense, and we have pieces at defense, and they're solidifying their pieces at defense. They're solidifying the lines on both ends, and that's what to expect in free agency. They are going to solidify the O-line, which they did, and we'll talk about it in a minute, and they are definitely solidifying the defensive line. So let's hope the Raider defensive line that was starting the season last year can come back, all of them this year, in a healthy way, because there was much to be expected from that defensive line last year until the injuries that happened to all of those players. But the Jeff Spytek and the Raiders brass, they're solidifying the O-line and the D-line this offseason. It all starts right there. It all starts right there. It doesn't technically start with a quarterback and a running back and or a wide receiver. It starts with the fucking O-line. To work with that specific quarterback. And the D-line, reuniting again with Patrick Graham for his third or fourth year, and signing Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins coming back. Maybe they re-sign some of the other players that are injured or possibly on free agency. I forgot the names of them. Malcolm Kuntz and Tyree Wilson needs to show himself. I mean, we've been saying it for 3 years. It's his make or break season, but this is Tyree Wilson's make or break season. And let's just be honest. He's a backup role player in the NFL. That's just my opinion. He's possibly a bust. But hey, we're going to leave it at that. All Eyes on G is saying, what's up? We got Tom Dodd saying, what's up? All right, let's get into the next topic since we talked about Max Crosby a little bit. The Raiders have technically made a signing. The announcement was made earlier today that recently released offensive lineman Alex Kappa from the Bengals. They released him to save money because they got to sign Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, who they franchise tagged, and other players, and they don't have a lot of cap room. And they need to sign Trey Hendrickson, the defensive lineman for the Bengals. So they released Alex Kappa, who is a starting caliber, good offensive lineman. I don't know his actual position. It's possibly guard. But the Raiders have come to an agreement on a 2-year deal for Alex Kappa. We don't know the actual numbers just yet because it hasn't been announced. But the Raiders are definitely starting to build the O-line that we just talked about a minute or two ago. And I like this signing. The Bengals had a really decent, if not great, O-line. And their running backs played excellent. And they have one of the coolest young quarterbacks, Joe Cool. So I like the signing of Alex Kappa. I don't know how much he's going to get. We should compare it to the Bengals contract. I should look that up. What was Alex Kappa's Bengals contract? And expect a couple of $1 million more than whatever his last year contract was with the Bengals. I don't know the actual number. Maybe somebody can tell me while I try to look it up. But expect the contract, Alex Kappa contract Bengals 2024. Let's see what it was. Bengals release guard Alex Kappa and clear $8 million on the salary cap. So, in my opinion, he's at least going to get the same amount of money from the Raiders, $8 million a year or whatever it was. Oh, here it is. The announcement is in. The Las Vegas Raiders are signing veteran guard Alex Kappa to a 2-year, $11.2 million contract that includes, all right, let me get this up. All right, Raiders are signing veteran guard Alex Kappa to a 2-year, $11.2 million contract that includes 5.5 fully guaranteed signing bonus. So there it is. If our cap space went down to like 40 million with the math that I just presented, which I don't know if it's correct or not, with $11.2 million and 5.5 being fully guaranteed, half of 11.2 for this season would be like 5.5. So we're somewhere around $37 million on the salary cap before free agency even begins. My math may be wrong. We might be at 40, 45, but we're definitely in that 38 to $45 million left on our salary cap. Because I'm including the rookie draft class. All right, Raiders got themselves a decent offensive lineman, and I really, really like that decision. You guys let me know your thoughts on that decision while we get to the next topic. M. Daniel W. Alex Kappa's good. Went to my alma mater. Humboldt, baby. There you go. Oh, Frost, you're letting me know. It's $11.5 million. Thank you. The Raiders' O-line will be like last year until proven otherwise. Well, you're exactly correct. We cannot fault that logic. But if we add some other players, it might instantly improve. I believe with the addition that we just spoke about of Alex Kappa, the Raiders' offensive line is improved a certain percentage, especially for the run game. That's my opinion. MWW called him a mauler. Alan G giving us some inside information. I heard Kobe Bryant's trainer is now Max Crosby's trainer. Well, that would make sense. Max Crosby is a Mamba fan, and he wants to live by the Mamba way. Eli saying, released offensive lineman. What does that tell you? It tells us that he's not the best offensive lineman, and the Bengals couldn't afford him. But he was a starting lineman for a Bengals team that has been to the playoffs almost every year for the previous seasons he's been there, and he was never released or whatever until they need $8 to $10 or $11 million off of salary cap. So the statement that you put, Eli, I don't agree with that. I think he's an excellent sign for the Raiders. And if he was getting $8 million or more last season with the Bengals, we got him on a deal. Doesn't mean he's the best free agent out there. We got ourselves a starting lineman for $5.5 million. Pretty good deal. Bengals are cheap and don't play their players. Exactly. Agreed. Definitely a good pickup. 100%. 100%. The more I think about it, I like they did the Max Crosby contract early. They're signing their players to extensions. They're proving a point. They're signing offensive linemen that were released days ago. Because let's think about this honestly. You guys have been fans of mine or on my channel or whatever for many years now. And every time a player is released or let go from another team, even during the season or the off season, the next day or two later, that player is picked up by another team for like $3 million, $4 million, $5 million, and they become a decent player for another team. And the Raiders never go after these fucking players. So with Alex Kappa being released, the Raiders are like on top of it with Jeff Spytek and Pete Carroll now at the helm. They're not going to let a good player go to waste. They're like, dude, if we can get him for $5.5 million, let's do it. You know, maybe other teams wanted him, but they were only offering $3 million or $4 million based off of their value chart. But the Raiders in previous years, they let some of this shit go by the wayside. They could sign players for cheap, and they don't. They choose not to. Then that player plays good. Like Russell Wilson, we could have had him for $1 million last year. Would have been better than Gardner Minshew. I like it. I still don't trust putting a pocket passer under center next season until we have a proven O-line. Your concerns are valid, my good sir. Your concerns are valid. All right, speaking of Gardner Minshew, who Russell Wilson played better than last year, the Raiders are officially releasing Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew has been notified that he will be released at the start of the new season on March 12th. That'll free up a few $1,000,000 in cap space. So that'll add a few $1,000,000 to our cap space. So the numbers are going to change. But this needed to be done. And the Raiders are making strong points. Technically, we have Gardner Minshew under contract for another year. He's possibly still injured. He might not even play this year. But technically, we still got him under contract. And there is a world where he might have wanted to compete in training camp or whatever. But that is not the world we're living in. The Raiders' new general manager and brass, we're done with you. We're moving on, Gardner. We're announcing, we're letting you know you're going to be released. Maybe you can become a backup with another team for a couple $1,000,000 coming off your injury. I don't know if there was an injury settlement that they had to pay Gardner Minshew. That's beyond my pay grade. But what this means is the Raiders are signing or drafting a quarterback. That's what it means, even though we all knew it. But based off of last year's draft, you might say, fuck. They might go into the season again with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. But now that is proven false. With the release of Gardner Minshew in the next couple days, the Raiders are signing a free agent quarterback and or they are guaranteed to draft a quarterback. So put that in your bank, let it sit with you, and we are getting a new quarterback this season. So there it is. Now, let's talk about those possible quarterbacks in free agency that the Raiders are going to go after. Or will they just draft a quarterback and move along that way with a quarter instead of signing a quarterback in free agency for $20 to $50 million, whatever they might covet? So, again, with the cap space that I explained in mind, Raiders are anywhere between $38 and $48 million with cap space after these signings that we just spoke about and the rookie draft class and whatever. When we started out with 100. So the Raiders are anywhere in between that number. Let's just say the Raiders are at 45. I'm going to say the Raiders are at 48, okay? Again, I don't know mathematics. So the Raiders are at 48 at the start of free agency. How much would Aaron Rodgers cost to sign him? How much would Russell Wilson cost to sign him when we could have got him for $1 million last year and then signed him to an extension during the season if he played really good? And we could have got him for like $15, $20 million. And what will it cost to get Sam Darnold? Who's your favorite? Who do you think the Raiders are going to sign? I'm going to talk about this, and then we'll talk about the draft class in a minute. But for now, these are the quarterbacks that are possibly on the top of the Raiders list. Many of you might agree with it. Some of you might not. Some of you might have players like Justin Fields on the Raiders free agency list. And I could see that happening. Justin Fields, in a weird way, might be a Russell Wilson type player for Pete Carroll. And we could get him on a decent deal. But again, this is all contingent on if Justin Fields signs with the Steelers again, or if they move forward with Russell Wilson again under contract, whatever the Steelers are going to do. But the players as of right now that we know are on the Raiders roster, on the Raiders radar, is Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold, and possibly Justin Fields. That's my opinion. But we're not going to talk about Russell Wilson because he's technically, is he available officially? Yeah, he is. He is available, right? Because he's a free agent. Okay, we'll talk about Russell Wilson right now. Do I want Russell Wilson to come to the Raiders and reunite with Pete Carroll? I do not. He is not my favorite, but it makes a lot of sense because a couple of years ago, before he signed with the Broncos, there was rumblings he wanted to go to Vegas with the Raiders. His wife is a singer and entertainer, Sierra. They could have a residency. Vegas would be really good for them. And reuniting with Pete Carroll, I think they let bygones be bygones. And I don't know how interested they are in each other, but that is a possibility. Then with the release of Tyler Lockett, he may come to the Raiders and reunite with Pete Carroll under Chip Kelly. Tyler Lockett may want to reunite. And then now DK Metcalf has asked for a release from the Seattle Seahawks. And there might possibly be a Tyler Lockett, a DK Metcalf, a Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf and Russell Wilson reunitement in Vegas. That would make sense for either one of those players to reunite with Pete Carroll. At least two of them, Tyler Lockett and Russell, or DK and Russell, maybe all three. I doubt it, but maybe all three. But still, that would prove that the Raiders are building a team that already has history together, as they are going all in for the next 2 years with Pete Carroll. How much will Russell Wilson covet on the free agency market? Well, I'm going to make a guess that the major quarterbacks are making 45 or 40 to 50. Russell Wilson would covet anywhere between $25 and $35 million a year. That's my opinion. So if we signed Russell Wilson, you're looking at $25 to $35 million a year. Then it would bring our salary cap space down to, what did I say, 48? We're probably looking at $20 million of cap space to sign a couple of other players like a Tyler Lockett or whoever else. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. But still, that is a cheap quarterback for $25 to $35 million by today's standards and numbers. Plus, apparently, in the next week or two, the salary cap number or the cap allotment will go up. I don't know how much more. I don't know if it's been announced, but it will go up. So there might be more money added to the amount that I just listed with my verbiage. I do not want Russell Wilson. I don't want a Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll reunitement. I don't want that. I don't want a DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson reunitement. I don't want that. But if we did it, we're the Seattle Raiders. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, let's talk about Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is a playoff caliber quarterback. He's going to covet anywhere between $35 and $45 million a year. It's a little bit more than possibly Russell Wilson. Do I want him to come to the Raiders? It's not a long-term choice. It's not a long-term choice for Sam Darnold to be the Raiders quarterback, because we are going to draft a quarterback, hopefully in the first 3 rounds. And that quarterback will be the future. So to spend $35 to $45 million on a quarterback like Sam Darnold to possibly only play under Chip Kelly for 2 or 3 years or under Pete Carroll while we supposedly develop a drafted quarterback, that's too high of a price for me personally. Too high of a price for me personally. And he doesn't make players better. He has to have a team around him that is already good. And then he plays good and excellent. But when it came to the playoffs and primetime games, they figured him out. He couldn't handle the pressure. It didn't work out. And he's been to multiple teams. So he's like a Kirk Cousins, a good player that can make it work and make it happen, but he doesn't officially take the team to the next level. He really doesn't do that alone. So do I want Sam Darnold? No, I do not. Are the Raiders going to do it and be interested? Yes, they are. Now, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. This is the news of the day that you guys are getting from my mouth and my projections. Aaron Rodgers has asked to speak or have a meeting and inquired to the Giants about becoming their quarterback after being released by the Jets or told he was going to be released. Now, Aaron Rodgers wants to play in the West Coast. He wanted to go to the Rams. But they signed Matthew Stafford again. They used the Raiders for leverage. They used Tom Brady for leverage. And now they got Matthew Stafford back for $40 million. Aaron Rodgers is on the market. Coming off of an injury last year, didn't play so great. They also released Davante Adams, who is a former Raider. And Davante Adams and Max Crosby and Aaron Rodgers all have the same agent. That's why in the media, Davante and Max were doing all that chirping to get more guaranteed money and new contracts. And now that's the exact position Aaron Rodgers finds himself in. Well, with Max Crosby signing an extension earlier today, Aaron Rodgers' agent and Max Crosby's agent are the same person. And there is a rumor that Aaron Rodgers is going to meet and or talk with the Raiders general manager and coach in the next 5 days. There's a rumor, and it's a good rumor. So there is a world where Aaron Rodgers, because of all the situations I've just explained, with the money with Russell Wilson, the money with Sam Darnold, that Aaron Rodgers is the next Raiders quarterback while they draft a quarterback. Now, that's a scary thought to a lot of people because of Aaron Rodgers' personality, and he might ruin some young players and a lot of players. Well, some might say Davante Adams ruined Max Crosby last year with all the agent and contract talk. And there's a world where Aaron Rodgers will sign with the Raiders on a 1-year deal. A 1-year deal. For somewhere between $25 and $28 million. Now, why would that make sense for the Raiders? Again, you're getting a more proven quarterback than Russell Wilson, a more veteran quarterback than Russell Wilson, and you got a quarterback on a journey to redeem his fucking name. And you get him on a 1-year deal for $25 million. I don't think he'll get much more than that, maybe $28 million. So you get him for cheaper than Sam Darnold. You possibly get him cheaper than a Russell Wilson on a prove-it deal for 1 year. Then you possibly get, hear me out, Raider Nation, Davante Adams coming back to the Raiders on a prove-it deal. But we all know that he wants millions of dollars guaranteed. But I'm just going to talk about Aaron Rodgers for now. You get Aaron Rodgers for $25 to $28 million on a 1-year deal as a bridge quarterback that wants to prove himself. And Mark Davis likes money. Mark Davis likes hiring star players that have a big name. Mark Davis likes hiring people that cause controversy, because controversy creates what? Headlines. And headlines create what? Dollar bills, y'all. Dollar bills, y'all. So there is a world where Aaron Rodgers stays in the West Coast, plays in Las Vegas on a 1-year deal while we draft a quarterback, and we could easily move on from Aaron Rodgers if he doesn't work out this year, and we have Aiden O'Connell behind him and or whoever we draft in the draft. Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders. If I had to bank my money on it, if you asked me 2 weeks ago what was the possibility of Aaron Rodgers becoming a Raiders quarterback, I would say 10%. Now, after the rumor, maybe Mikey has some inside information, but I'm not a reporter. But after the rumor that Aaron Rodgers' agents are the same as Davante Adams, Max Crosby, and they requested a meeting and a talk with the Raiders brass, and they approved it. Again, it's a rumor, allegedly. If you ask me the percentage now of Aaron Rodgers becoming a Raiders quarterback with all the information I just outlined and the value, I would say 55%. Let me know your percentage in the chat room. All right. Source to this rumor. Maybe it's an agent. Maybe it's an agent. Trust me, look around. You'll see it. You'll find that rumor. And I was watching ESPN all day today, boy. Having a good time. Finally been feeling decent. I've been waking up every day at 7, 8 a.m. on a schedule instead of a vampire. Feeling a little bit better. And I was blessed to buy food today, even though I need money to pay my rent next month or this month, at the end of this month. I'm struggling. All right. Let's move on from that. Flip Wavy, he said 1% chance, 99% Shedeur Sanders. Well, I'm talking about in free agency. You're saying the draft show. I get what you're saying. Raider Rob, what's up, brother? Been missing your football chats and opinions, Mikey. I do videos every once in a while, but yeah, I've just come out of a depression and some issues. Me said 2 cancer guys. No, thank you. Who are the cancer guys? Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers? Yep. Or Davante Adams. Yeah, you know what? I mean, you prove a point. I wouldn't want Aaron Rodgers or Devontae Adams to come back to the Raiders. But could I see Aaron Rodgers coming? I could. I kind of like him a little bit. I like that he's outspoken. I like that. And he'll immediately command respect from a lot of the team. Will they want to give it to him, the players? I don't know. He's got to prove it again. You get it? He has to prove himself. He literally has to prove himself again. And then if he proved himself good with the Raiders for $25 to $28 million, whatever it might be on a one-year deal, then he could get another contract for 3 years, close out his career with another $60 million guaranteed, and then whatever else happens from here or there. But Aaron Rodgers loves being in the spotlight. So he is not going to retire anytime soon. He's trying to get to another contract. And Pete Carroll would want to work with him. Pete Carroll would want to work with him. Chip Kelly would want to work with him. They're both headstrong. I did not even fathom this as a possibility a couple months back. But I have to entertain this idea. So I'll leave it at that. All right, please hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe button, everybody. Please consider becoming a member of this channel for early and exclusive content. And just a reminder, I have donation portals down below through Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. They're on screen as well. If you'd like to support me in other ways and become my friend, I'd appreciate it. And that would be a thankfulness to my heart, and saying that you enjoy me, my content, and you want to help keep me with a roof over my head. But that being said, just watching the video, hitting the thumbs up, and some other things supports me as well. All right, let's get into the quarterback information that is ever evolving. As the draft approaches, whether we pick up a quarterback in free agency or not, which I believe we will, and I said it, I think it might be Aaron Rodgers, or a Justin Fields would make sense depending on what happens with Russell Wilson. The Raiders are not going to want to sign a $40 million quarterback. They're not going to want to do it. They're not going to have the money based off of the calculations we just did. So, that's just my opinion, that the available price range for a quarterback for the Raiders in free agency is going to be anywhere between $20 and $30 million at most. That's just my opinion. But I believe we are going to draft a quarterback in this year's draft, whether it be in the first round, second round, or third round. I don't know where all their positions go, where they will not go. There are rumors and rumblings for a lot of drafted players, like Chip Kelly worked with Will Howard as his quarterback. He might be a possibility to reunite with Chip Kelly from Ohio State. So that's on the back burner, depending on what happens in the draft. So we got players like Will Howard. There's possibility of players like Jackson Dart, who is getting a lot of information going now about him, and he's moving up the draft ranks. Jackson Dart, during the combine, recently spoke, and they asked him about like his favorite movie or character, and he said Star Wars, and he said Anakin Skywalker is his favorite character. Well, the Raiders have the Death Star. Was he publicly speaking that he wanted to be like a Darth Vader, like a Anakin Skywalker that became Darth Vader and play for the Raiders? Was he putting out a public message that he wants to be recruited and play for the Raiders? Some might say yes. So Jackson Dart is a possibility. We also have information. Somebody in the chat room, let me know if we're still live. I haven't seen a chat in the last couple minutes. So we also know about Shedeur Sanders connecting with Mark Davis at the UFC event, saying this could be your next home. We got the Tom Brady, Shedeur Sanders connection that everybody's talking about. We have a lot of information that might lead us to the Raiders trying to draft Shedeur Sanders. But some information just came out earlier today that might be concerning of Shedeur Sanders being drafted by the Raiders, or it might be manipulation for the Raiders to actually draft Shedeur Sanders and get him. Check out my Twitter timeline. It's at Mikey Raider to get all the information that we're discussing on today's show in context from ESPN sources as well. But apparently, let me see if I can get it on screen. Whoops, that's the cap space. How do I get it back on screen? Remove it from studio. Present image file. Let me see if hopefully it'll come up. All right. Apparently, Shedeur Sanders had interviews with teams, and according to the ESPN report, a couple of teams that had meetings with Shedeur Sanders, a couple of teams had issues with him. And these two teams that spoke out to the media having issues with Shedeur Sanders, well, they were both teams that are drafting in the top 6. And the Raiders are at 6. So, apparently, two teams that are drafting in the top 6 had meetings with Shedeur Sanders, and they felt some sort of way about it. Let me read to you what the report came in. It says, I want to be careful here. According to Matthew Berry, a fantasy football advocate, I want to be careful here, but I spoke with 2 people on 2 different teams that met with Shedeur Sanders. And these 2 teams draft in the top 6. They had the exact same things to say. They both said it was a bad meeting and that he came off, meaning Shedeur Sanders, he came off as unprofessional and disinterested. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that? Shedeur Sanders has a lot of issues. We've spoke about him before. He is an egomaniac, a narcissist, and they want to get money and covet, and they are not very personable. That's my personal opinion that I think about Shedeur Sanders, and I'll leave it at that. But they both teams said it was a bad meeting and that he came off as unprofessional and disinterested. Both teams also said that after the meeting, they had a lesser, meaning a weaker or a worse opinion of him than they had prior to the meeting. These same people both met with Cam Ward as well, and both said that they loved Cam Ward, and it was a great meeting with Cam Ward. So, Raider Nation, where do you stand on that subject? Where do you stand on that topic? And is it a smokescreen? Could the Raiders have been one of the teams that released this information publicly as their agents and press conference for Max Crosby earlier today? Could the Raiders have been one of the teams that said this? Yes, it could have been the Raiders, but not in a disrespectful manner to Shedeur Sanders, in a press media type of way to publicly announce that there's problem with Shedeur Sanders. So other teams might not consider drafting him. And maybe he'll fall to the Raiders. This could actually be a ploy by the Raiders to use the media against the other teams. But Shedeur Sanders would have had to have been in on it and understand that the Raiders are going to speak badly about him to the media to hopefully help Shedeur Sanders fall to the Raiders at 6. And they guaranteed Shedeur Sanders, if he falls, they will draft him. So there is a possibility that this information is from the Raiders themselves as one of the teams. And Shedeur Sanders had to have been in on it. Or even if he wasn't in on it, it doesn't matter. Because if he wasn't in on it, then the Raiders made him fall to the Raiders at 6. Then they draft him, and he already wanted to go to the Raiders anyway. Because no teams were exposed in this information, and nobody's going to think it's the Raiders that would say this because they love Shedeur Sanders and they want to draft him. This will not come back to the Raiders. So there is a possibility that the Raiders made this statement. There is that possibility. But now with 2 teams being involved, that might also say it wasn't the Raiders. That maybe he did come off disinterested and unprofessional. But now, Shedeur Sanders might be doing this purposefully to the 2 teams because he doesn't want to play for them. Might have been the Browns. Might have been the Titans. Might have been the Giants. Because Shedeur Sanders wants to play for Vegas. So he might have purposefully went into those meetings and those interviews dropping his own draft stock with those teams because he knows he wants to fall to the Raiders at 6. Because there was no guarantee that he was going to be drafted 1st or 2nd this year. There's been a lot of draft grades and draft predictions that he falls to other teams in the later round. Now they're talking about Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders going in the top 3. And Shedeur Sanders probably doesn't want to go to the Titans, the Giants, or the fucking Browns. So he might purposefully be dropping his draft stock for the Raiders to sign him and for him to fall. So pay attention to this statement and remember it and put it in the back of your head. So while you're watching the draft, if he starts to fall, the Raiders either played it correctly or Shedeur Sanders played it correctly. And this might be the reason why he falls to the Raiders at 6. Expect more information now coming about Shedeur Sanders being an asshole or a privileged player. Expect more information coming out before the draft that is going to sour teams on Shedeur Sanders. Then if that happens, that proves that it's a coordinated event, maybe between the Raiders and or Shedeur Sanders, or the Raiders alone. But it is a coordinated press event and propaganda to let Shedeur Sanders fall to the Raiders. Now, do I want him drafted? I'm going to be honest with you. If he falls to 6, take him. If Cam Ward falls to 6, take him. Regardless of our free agent quarterback, regardless of our running back needs with Ashawn Genty or whoever else all the experts are predicting the Raiders draft, Take them. But there is a world where we get a free agent like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold, and next year's draft class is better, and we take a running back or an offensive lineman to start out this year's draft. But hey, I truly believe the Raiders have made so many fucking mistakes over the years of not drafting the right player. And last year we got lucky with Brock Bowers that we are in a quarterback bind for the future, regardless of free agency, that you have to draft one of these two quarterbacks if they fall. If either of these two quarterbacks do not fall to the Raiders, then you can draft another player, get Jackson Dart, Will Howard later in the draft for the future, and then hopefully you have signed an Aaron Rodgers or a Sam Darnold or a Russell Wilson or a Justin Fields to continue that trend. But this was very interesting information to me. That's why I wanted to present it. And I want to see everybody else's opinion on this subject as well. Raider Rob says, I want us to trade to number 1 to get Ward. Yeah, the Raiders don't need to give up any more value in their draft classes. We don't need to give up any more picks. No, we don't need to do that. That's why we would sign an Aaron Rodgers or somebody else. Yes, this is live, Daniel. All right, let's get a hater. Why don't you shut up with your podcast? LOL, Max can do what he wants. Are you drunk? Stupid. Good insight on Shedeur Sanders. Wow. Always drama, but we're never boring. The Raiders. He went in there like Peyton Manning did to the Chargers. There you go, Flip Wavy. Facts. Facts. Like Eli did to the Chargers. There you go. There you go. Letting teams know he doesn't want to play for them. Good point. The Burpee Reaper. That's a cool name. Sanders is nothing but a daddy's boy. Yeah. I can't imagine even Deion Sanders was at one point possibly going to become the Raiders head coach with Shedeur Sanders. He wouldn't be poop without his daddy. Well, the NFL expert said he is, one of the most talented quarterbacks at that position in this year's draft. And Max is weak. He needs to upgrade on his muscle mass. Players do this all the time. Max never said he didn't want to be here. I never said that he did say that. Go back and watch my conversation with a little bit more ears open. Just because I wanted Max on a cheaper deal and I wouldn't have signed him to a contract, I would have held him to the fire in his final year of his contract. That's just my opinion. But thank you for chiming in. Let's talk. I appreciate you. I truly do. All right, Raider Nation. If you got any questions for me, I'm going to get off here in the next 10 minutes. If you want to ask me anything, talk to me. Let me know what's going on. I appreciate you. Any information you want me to talk about, from my opinion, please ask it in the next 10 minutes. And I'm going to get going. That being said, on every future Raider football talk show, I'm going to have a link to join the live stream in my members only section, where hopefully we can have a Raiders roundtable coming up soon. So if you'd like to become on one of these live streams and talk with me and interact, please become a member, because the link to join the live streams will be in the members only section of my channel. And we're going to definitely have a Mondays with Mikey and Murph before the draft. I'm going to work that through with Murph, hopefully soon. And we're going to get back to making 2 or 3 videos a week on this channel and having some fun while I try to pay my bills. Lord knows I need some help and support. But hey, it's all good. Shedeur will throw just as many pictures, touchdowns, get cut in a couple of years, and focus on his rap career. Hey, you might be right. You might be freaking right, dude. That would suck, man. That'd be another bust that we draft in the first round. All right, Raider Rob with a question. What do you think about getting Darius Slade, Jair Alexander, or Asante Samuel Jr.? Well, again, we spoke about the cap space a little while ago, and from my math, we're probably going to get one defensive free agent of a decent high value, but not many more than that. But anything to help our defense at the cornerback position, I'm in for it. I'm really in for it. I think our biggest needs are cornerback, safety possibly, and we got to re-sign Robert Spillane. I think he's a free agent, right? And we might need a linebacker. But I think we're okay at our defensive line with Max Crosby coming back, Tyree Wilson. Hopefully we get Malcolm Kuntz. But yeah, I would appreciate any defensive pick in the cornerback backfield that we get. We all want more money at our job. That's exactly correct. I want more money. You want to send me some? No, you're good. Let's talk. I would have held Max Crosby, this year coming off an injury. I would have done that because he's been injured 2 years in a row, and his numbers don't seem to be getting better and worthy of that high contract. But that's just my opinion. That's why I'm not the GM or the general manager. But I'm really happy that Max is back, regardless of all his talking. I still love the dude. And proud he's a Raider. Shedeur Sanders reminds me of Johnny Manziel so much. What's up, Hey Angel? Good to see you. You know what? The comparisons are correct. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. That's why technically I may be sounding really, really weird, but I want Aaron Rodgers, and then I want them to draft like Jackson Dart or Will Howard, and then have Aiden O'Connell. I want them to, pick up Sam Darnold. Not really. Maybe Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, and draft Jackson Dart or somebody else like that. I don't know. I'm going to have a lot of more thoughts on it in the future. Let's get to everybody's question. Flip Wavy. Hope this helps with bills. My last $5. Oh, man, I'm so sorry. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your last $5. But YouTube's going to take like $1.50 of it or $2 of it. But no worries. Flip Wavy. Appreciate it. God bless. Yeah, man. Hopefully I can help you make some money in the future, just like you're supporting me. Max shedding the market might be cheaper for us in the long run. Yeah, it's crazy, the market, right? Quarterbacks, the market is going, it's like at $50 million for quarterbacks. And the draft cap space is like 190 million, 97. It's probably going to go to 215 or 220 this year. But still, think about that. That's like 25% of all the cap space, $50 million. It's like 25% on one player. Now Max is getting $35 million. He's getting like 20% of the cap space at defensive edge rusher. And now some of the other edge rushers like Myles Garrett and whoever might get $40 million. Max is getting 35. They might get 40. So they're as high priced as quarterbacks. And I'd be remiss to ask you, who makes a better difference for a team? In all honesty, who makes a bigger difference for a team? A $40 million defensive edge rusher or a $40 million quarterback? I would say the quarterbacks are more important for that price range. Just my opinion. Mikey the Conspiracy Raider. Yeah, I am what I am. I'm fucking Popeye. What about keeping Spillane? He knows the defense. How much should we pay him? Dude, I love Spillane. That dude is one of the leaders of the defense besides Max Crosby. Man, he's going to covet at least $10 to $12 million a year. So, what's up, Ben Rojas? What's good? Kappa's going to twist some heads off this year. Yeah, we got Jackson Powers Johnson and Alex Kappa, the two white boys on the offensive. Oh, there's more white boys on the offensive line, but they could be a duo that bites people's heads off. Jackson Powers Johnson and Alex Kappa. All right, Raider Nation. I'm just going to chime out with this because I got to get going. I got a couple other things to get doing today. I just want to thank you guys for chiming in today. Appreciate you. God bless you. And please hit the bell for notifications as I might go live a couple more times this week before next Friday. Maybe even on Friday. But thank you guys for chiming into my channel. I appreciate you. Thank you guys for putting up with me, whether you agree with me or not. And I just wanted to say, life is beautiful. Life is good. And it's hard as fuck to be a Raider fan sometimes. But it's really not, because you guys make it like family. Raider Nation is basically one of the only reasons I'm still a Raider for life, because of the Raider Nation. Lord knows the organization as a whole fucks us all up, mentally, physically, spiritually. But the Raider Nation, you always come through. Even when you talk shit on X. I love you. Good night. Oh my God, I just got a huge donation from Daniel. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Daniel. God bless you, brother. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And if you guys want to subscribe to my acting channel where I go live and talk pop culture and movies, it's under Heybower. I'll write it in the chat room. It's youtube.com/Heybower. And then maybe you can join that channel for when I go live and hang out with me over there for some other things besides Raider football. And on behalf of Raider Rob, Flip Wavy, Rebel Raider, Ben Rojas, Daniel Trujillo, everybody else that donated, Lolo, Flip Wavy, Daniel, I appreciate you. I love you. And again, I have a couple of Raider jerseys for sale for like $60 a piece, and I'll autograph it if you want to buy it. In my last video on my channel a couple days ago or yesterday, I showed the jerseys that are for sale from my collection, and you can hit me up on social media and pay for it if you want it, and then I'll track it and I'll ship it and all that other stuff to you. I appreciate the support and the love. I'm out of here, guys. Let me know your thoughts on all the subjects in the chat, in the forum, and I'll be talking about it on the next episode, probably in a couple days. Go Raiders.